the taper attachment is in place. It's I got all the hoses all set up and everything's kind of looking pretty smooth. What I have left to do, and I saw it here on YouTube just yesterday, because I wasn't sure how this follower, which is right down here, was going to follow something up so high. But then I saw on YouTube that somebody had taken this little sleeve here and extended it, down to about here. They had about a 10-inch sleeve in there. And so what that did is that took this little adjustment receiver and dropped it down to here. So I have all kinds of adjustment that I can do on this without even thinking about it. So what I've come to do here, and this rail pretty much came with the kit with the purchase. And up until this moment, I haven't really figured what am I going to do with this. But I can see, and we're going to look up on top here, this rail here, just luckily I built this rail, and this is the DRO, the sender. And just luckily I built this rail out of some pretty strong ass angle iron. And this rail is going to reach all the way up to the head of the lathe, which is great. I don't know how long it is, probably almost 4 feet. So that's pretty good. Now I think what I'm going to do is just take a piece of channel here that I had laying around and weld it to the quarter inch to the angle iron, and then put a bolt hole in it here, or maybe a couple of bolt holes, build myself a little T-nut slot, or a T-nut to go in the T-nut slot, and have it come up through that bracket, and we've got ourselves a pretty solid deal here. And it's completely away from everything. It's not getting in the way of anything that I can see, and we'll be set to go. So probably I'm going to have to take my DRO sending unit, which runs the entire length of the lathe, take that off, and so I can weld to this piece of angle. But once I get that off, then we weld to the angle and build our little T-nuts and so on and so forth. So we'll be back when this whole thing takes the next step. Okay, so we're going to make the T-nuts, and I scrounged around and found this old piece of angle that has just the right thickness, because it's a 300,000ths on the T. So, and this is exactly 300. So we're going to cut off, I'm just cleaning up this edge for right now, and then we're going to cut off 675 thousandths off of the next chunk, and then cut that up into smaller pieces so that I can make the T-nuts. While we're waiting for that, we'll go ahead and drill our 5/16 holes in each one of these, and that way it's all set and ready to go. Of course, the center drill first. Well, there's many things, many cool things about this little Harbor Freight saw. One of them is you can flip the saw up and use it as a standing bandsaw, and that is a great thing. Hey, Nick Collier here, and we are still putting the tracer attachment, hooking the tracer attachment up, and I think yesterday we got to setting up the little T-nuts for the tracer bar, and we cut our supports to hold the bars up. So I think what we're going to do today is go ahead and drill a hole through the center of these little T-nuts and thread them, and then slide them in there, and attach the tracer bar to the support arms, and then get them up in place on top of the piece of angle iron that holds the all these names. It's a tough one. That holds the DRO slider bar, and go ahead and weld those in place and get everything set up with as far as that's concerned. And then then we just take it to the next step. So bear with me, or hang in there with me, and let's have some fun. Okay, it's a pretty straightforward deal. We're going to drill a hole in the center of the T-nut and take it up to size, and then thread it, and we're a done deal. Okay, we're going to slip the T-nut slot, or the T-nut, in there, and then come back in with our bracket. Let's see if we can get the thing to screw into place. I'm thinking that this bolt is going to be a little bit too long, but I'm going to give it a try and see if maybe not. Well, it bottoms out just almost made it. So I think what I'll do is just go over and kiss this on the grinder a little bit and just take off, 1/8 of an inch off of the top of that. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Okay, we ground down our bolts just a little bit. Let's see how they're going to fare this time. Yeah, now snug right down. Gonna go in and just grind off this flat surface here and a little bit over here and here, just so when I get ready to weld it'll go in real smooth. In fact, maybe what I'll do is just bring the grinder over here. We're just looking to get some fresh metal. All right, well that took care of that. Now, let's put the bolt in. Alright, so we've got everything in place and squared up, and we've got a little bit of a C-clamp holding everything in place here, and now we're going to come in and run two welds, one on this side and one on that side. And now the problem is that we've got our DRO sending unit just below this, but there is about a 1/2 inch of gap underneath this this piece of steel. So I think what I can do is come into the end here and just blow a fan, blow some air in that, weld this, make these 2 passes, and then just drench it with water. And I think that's going to probably work out okay. I keep my fingers crossed. Of course, we did the other side, and we've got all of our measurements from this edge here, which is consistent with the lathe, all the way out to the outside edge here, which gives us a measurement. And then down on the far end of this, we've got the exact same measurement within about 3 or 4 thousandths. So let's play with that, see what we got. Okay, we're ready to fire this thing up and throw a weld on it. And I've got my water over here somewhere. There it is. So, here we go. That's good for now. Let's drop this thing. Drop a little water on everything. Cool it off. Get some air. That ought to do us for the moment. Let's go ahead and take our clamp off. Nice and solid, reasonably level. How about if we just go over and do this side now? I don't think I'm going to be able to get you over there. It's kind of tight quarters back in here, so we're just going to turn you off, and you can assume that I've welded the other 3 welds. So here's kind of a cool deal. Last couple of days there's been about 5 bucks hanging out. Now of course we put alfalfa down for them inside of that little box, and this big 4-pointer here is just amazing. Just showed up. He's hanging out. Okay, we've got our rail in place. The welds are done. It's bolted. It's ready to go. Now, next part is coming up with some T-nut adjusters that can give me, now this thing, I have no idea what this does, but it's not going to work for me. What I have to do is come up with something that's going to come out to, maybe about 3 inches or so to give me some clearance on this. And then have a couple of adapters, like a bolt-on and a center, a centering adapter, and a couple of things like that with the T-nut lock nut. So I think what we'll do is this will be the one time we go to the drawing board and try to figure out what the heck we're doing. So let's go over to the drawing board. Let's imagine that we've got the T-slot on that one big aluminum bar. Now, and remember, there was this other T-slot up here, kind of like that. And this is what tied us into that piece of channel that took us over to the lathe. So now we're working with this piece here. So basically we're going to just do another set of T-nuts, maybe even 4 or 6, and that way we've got a bunch of them laying around in there just to use whenever we need to. Now, and actually what I'm going to do is come out this way. Let's come out this way a little bit. And we're going to be sideways. And now what we want to do is we want to create probably a round, because that'll be easier to machine, a round surface with a nut or a bolt in the center, and then have it come out, and here, this is going to be the top view. And this will be the round disc with the bolt that comes out, and maybe something coming off of it like this, and you know, it can be really random. That would be a bracket that would have a hole in it, and a series of centering cones could fit on here with threads and a nut. And that would give us our centers, and then we could also pop that off and put just a tab with a hole in it. So if we needed to do some flat bar, you know, we could set the flat bar up and create the contour with that. So this would be for doing round stock, and this would be for doing flat stock. So I think that's going to pretty much get what we want. I'm guessing we're going to build two separate pieces here and then just weld them together, and a little bit of holes and some flatness right here in order to pull up against that big piece of aluminum. So let's kind of just get started with that and see what we can come up with. I don't know, sometime I can get lucky, you know. Here is two pieces milled exactly the same size. I don't remember what I used them for, but I did have them for something. Looks like one hole isn't quite big enough, or maybe it was slightly off center. We have to check the tolerances, and that pretty much needs to be pretty accurate. But oh, it looks like maybe I misdrilled back here. But we've got two pieces ready to go. All we have to do is figure out how to get maybe a hole in the center of this so that we can put the bolt in there. And then, or maybe just go straight down the top. Well, no, it's going to get in the way. Well, anyhow, we've got a couple of pieces of aluminum. I think they're exactly 2.5 inches from here to here, which is pretty much exactly what we wanted, so that shouldn't be a problem. And we'll take them and see what we're going to do. So we've taken our two blocks and we put them together end for end, and I flatten this bottom edge so we have a nice consistent edge, and then I put just a little bit of a step in these two areas right here, or this one area, and these two are stepped down, and this will sit inside of the groove of the T-nut slot. So that'll keep us from rotating one way or the other. Now I'm going in and drilling a hole through the center of the T-nut slot so that we can get a bolt down through there, and then set the T-nut up, and I think that'll be good. And then we come in later and I'll clamp this together and flip it, and then go ahead and center drill whatever I have at the other end of that, and then build my attachments to that. So let's go ahead and drill. built up like a champ. One thing about aluminum, throws chips everywhere. We punched through. We'll go ahead and do this back hole. One thing I want to do for sure is to make sure that we've got our hole big enough for a bolt. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay. So now our back hole is a whole different ball game. There's our scratch, so I think we can just roll back to it. Center up to it. It isn't like we're having to be super accurate here. We're just putting a hole in a piece of metal. A long hole for sure, but a hole. About that. Yep, on the money. A little bit off. Okay, you can come back just a tad. Yeah, there we go. We flipped it and we brought up our hole and our surfaces are consistent, so we're going to rebore this hole so that all of the hole and the surfaces are a consistent distance from one another. I don't really care what the distance is, but as long as they're consistent. So we're going to go ahead and crank it up and go for it. Oh, I guess we didn't set up the hole, did we? All right, let's give that a try. I guess we should spin it the right way, huh? Okay, Nick Collier here, and I think we're gonna have to work on the little lathe because the big one is we're still setting it up, and there's all kinds of stuff that's kind of in the way, and I'm not sure how that's all going to play out just yet, so we're going to just kind of stick with that and see how it goes. But right now we're going to work on the small lathe, and we're going to make, if you remember, we've finished the blocks that brings the distance of the centers between the two centers out. Now we have to make the centers to fit in the blocks. So I've got a piece of 8620 here, and we're going to cut a hole in it. We're going to build a shoulder for it. We're going to turn it down to 1/2 inch and cut some 1/2 inch threads, and then taper the far side of that to a sharp point, and that should be the trick. We're going to make 2 of those, and we'll go from there.